Hello everyone and welcome to Zero Hangers Brownlow special. We are on the track for grand final week, Nick, and now Brownlow is obviously at the start of that. Normally the Monday night, we've moved to Sunday. We're going to take you through the key contenders. There's 5 obvious names we have to go through, and there is no way I wasn't starting this without touching on Patrick Cripps.
I knew you were going to start there, Jake. I knew you were going to start with Paddy Cripps, but he has had a sensational year, hasn't he?
Yeah, absolutely. I think his first 10 rounds, he looked just about home. I think he surged into Brownlow favouritism. His ability to hit the scoreboard, I think it was something like 13 goals in the first 10 games, and he ended up with 20 goals altogether. His clearance game was back to its best. He averaged just under 8 clearances a game. And with a thriving Carlton midfield with those additions, he was stellar. He got to play more forward of the ball. 28 disposals. He was an absolute beast. And he ended the year with, he'll poll 3 votes against Collingwood in the last game of the year, almost no doubt about that. And he'll start the year with quite a few threes as well.
He will. He's actually my tip to be leading the count after rounds 5 and 10. He had 6 games of over 30 touches in the first 10 weeks. And as we know, the Blues went 8-2 in those first 10 weeks. So great start for the Blues, and I think he's going to get us off to a ripper.
He was the equal winner of the Zero Hanger MVP. He won that award alongside Gold Coast co-captain Toot Miller. I mean, it might be a bit of see no evil from Took up in the Gold Coast, but if you took any note of what he did, he was unbelievable. We've got him polling the second most votes in the last 8 weeks of the Brownlow medal. Cripps is third in that tally, which you can check that piece out on zerohanger.com. But yeah, Miller, we think he's going to have a terrific second half of the year. It's just how well can he poll early on?
It was another terrific year for the Suns vice-captain. He was top 10 for total disposal, total kicks and effective kicks. And inside 50s, showing just how damaging he can be both inside and out. He's now got 2 best and fairest and 2 All-Australian jackets to boot, so we'll definitely be thereabouts at the end of the count.
Yeah, I think one stat you mentioned there that really caught my eye is effective kicks, and effective disposals are definitely something that, midfielders pride themselves on, and one player who did that incredibly well was Fremantle's Andy Brayshaw. I mean, Fremantle's rise was built on team system, but he was an absolute superstar, taking on the load from the loss of Adam Chera. Nat Fyfe obviously ducking out of the midfield with a lot of injuries and forward time spent. I mean, I want to take you through a few of his stats. He averaged 29.3 disposals, which is unbelievable for a man of his age. He was third for effective disposals across the competition and fourth for disposals as a whole. So to have as many disposals as he's had the 4th most in the competition, no shortage of ball. He's also used it incredibly well. I think that's something that will catch the eye of the umpires.
Absolutely. I mean, the funny thing is about Andrew Brayshaw is that he actually leads all of these Brownlow contenders for disposal efficiency across the season. Obviously finished a respectable 4th in our MVP count, which is so far a good judge of kind of where players are going to finish up. But he is excellent by hand or foot. He runs all day, and like you said, without Adam Chera, Nat Fyfe missing for most of the year, he really stood out in that Fremantle midfield, and that team was top 4 or thereabouts most of the year.
Well, that's a big one. They won games. You look at Carlton and the Gold Coast, we just mentioned there with Cripps and Miller. They won games, there's no doubt about that. But Fremantle won more, and that's obviously going to pay dividends. But if we focus on winning teams, Lachie Neale and the Brisbane Lions, I don't think many more players won their team's games by themselves than what Neale managed to do for the Lions. You just think back to his game against Essendon where he took the absolute mickey out of the Bombers. And he's obviously carried a lot of that form into September. Now the votes don't poll past round 23, but he's starting to catch the eye of a few punters and a few fans. And I mean, you average over 30 disposals throughout the year, you're going to catch the eye of a few.
Another amazing year. I actually think he had a better year now than in his 2019 Brownlow winning year. He averaged 3 more disposals a game than on that season as well, and over his career average, which is amazing given what an incredible ball magnet he's been over the course of his career. He finished 5th in our Zero Hanger MVP, which shows just the quality of contenders for this award this year. But I think that he's improved his kicking, his impact on the Lions and on games in general. He's improved amazingly, and he's without a doubt the bookie's favourite right now.
Well, he was second leading disposal getters. We spoke about Brayshaw being 4th and how impressive that was. He was second, Lachie Neale. So again, another man that's had plenty of it. He was also first for centre clearances. And we saw this year, probably more than any other year in the game's history, how important centre clearance numbers were and how that effective 6-6-6 worked really well. But teams managed to hit the scoreboard, and to lead the competition, but to lead your team in that stat was vitally important. Now, second in disposals, as we mentioned, number 1, none other than Clayton Oliver, a man who may have been stiff last year, not to take it home. He's hot favourite this year, rightfully so. I mean, he's had an unbelievable year. His ability to hit the inside and just get Melbourne up and running. He's got the most disposals in the comp. His clearance numbers are through the roof again. I mean, he's not the best ball user. I think we spoke about ball use, but he knows that. And his hands, they're elite and they're unlike any others.
Absolutely elite. The man, the myth, the hair, he's got everything. And you mentioned that he led the league in disposals, a top 20 all-time season, just about from Clary. It just goes to show that the level that he's gone to again. And I mean, you couldn't complain if Clayton Oliver walked away with Charlie this year.
No, I think I tipped Melbourne for just about everything at the start of the finals campaign and even at the start of the season. But he was one that I actually didn't have winning the Brownlow. I had Petrarca, but I mean, his year's just been parallel to Petrarca. They've gone up in rise, but he's taken that little spear going up, and it's been unbelievable. We mentioned Lachie Neale led centre clearances, but Clayton Oliver actually led clearances as a whole, which is, I suggest they might be harder around the ground. Centre clearance, you get your 3-on-3 in the midfield, but at around the ground, you've got wingers coming in, half forwards rolling up, and to be able to continuously win that football first for Melbourne, it was a big driver in their season.
I mean, for a guy who wins the ball as effortlessly as he does, his spread and run and carry is also very good, and you know that the umpires are going to notice him because he is so agile. He moves around the ground really well, and obviously that hair, as we've mentioned, is a noticeable asset for him as well. But so, Jake, I'm going to ask you now, who wins the Brownlow medal this year? Yeah,
it's a tough one. I think we've got a tie on our hands. A bit like the Zero Hanger MVP, but I'm going to go with a couple of different names. I've got Clayton Oliver and Patrick Cripps. I think that inside bull that can then affect the game on the outside, I think that's a big one. I think the thing with Cripps is I think he'll pull more 3-vote games than anyone else. He may not have as many 2s and 1s, but I think he'll be best on ground quite a few times, especially in the year when he was hitting the scoreboard. And Clayton Oliver, I mean, the things he did this year, I can't possibly not mention him. I'm assuming you might have a few different ideas. What have you got on?
Slightly different. I do agree with you on Paddy Cripps. As I mentioned, I think that he's going to be leading the count at the halfway mark and also a bit earlier in the season as well. But I've gone Lachie Neale. I think it's really hard to go past. His impact on one team has been immense. I really like Andrew Brayshaw as the man in the middle for the Dockers. I think he's going to stand out a lot in those Dockers wins. So I'm going Neale first, Brayshaw second, Cripps third.
Yeah, I think I'm with you. I think I've got Brayshaw coming in just behind those front two. Look, guys, that's all we have time for today. We can't thank you enough for joining us. Make sure you stay tuned to zerohanger.com for all your Brownlow preview coverage, as well as coverage throughout the Sunday afternoon and over the night.